Carolina had the discipline? No, they sure did not. They had the talent to win this game, but they sure didn't have the discipline. You get a flag, and you get a flag, and you get a flag.
This is Kamori House, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, November 22nd, 2025. Welcome into this live postcast edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You've joined me for this therapy session at the only place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the number one sports podcast network there is. Thanks for making us your first listener watch post-game after Carolina football and men's basketball games. Great to be with you. Yes, even after a frustrating performance like that. Special shout out to our everydayers, to our Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, as well as our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Great to have all of you with us. If you want to be even more part of this Locked On Tar Heels community, the links for both of those groups are in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Ooh, gross, yuck, woof. I don't know what other words to say, but Carolina loses their final home game of the season, 32-25, at the hands of their rivals, the Duke Blue Devils. Carolina falls to 4-7 on the season, 2-5 in ACC play, now meaning that one, they are guaranteed to finish below 500 in the first year of the Bill Belichick era. At best, the Tar Heels can be 5-7 overall, 3-5 in ACC play. And also, while there had been kind of this hope, this comeback after the wins over Syracuse and over Stanford, there's like, hey, if you can win two of your final three, miraculously, after what we saw against Clemson, you could still make a bowl. But after back-to-back losses to Wake and to now Duke, those hopes are dashed against the rocks, and Carolina will have nothing to play for against NC State other than the respect of good grief. We're tired of losing to NC State. The victory bell stays in Durham, North Carolina, and that's that. Here's where we go on these live postcasts. We're going to talk big picture. We're going to talk small picture, all sorts of stuff. And there's no other way to start than by talking about the penalties incurred by the North Carolina Tar Heels. Duke finishes this game penalized a grand total of 3 times for 27 yards. Now, that's a misnomer because there is a lot of dirty laundry that didn't make it to the field that should have. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's look inside our own household first. Carolina finishes this game with 12 accepted penalties for, count them, 103 yards. And as I look at it, the stat right above Carolina's 103 penalty yards is their total rushing yards for this game, which is 101. Yes, that means Carolina had more penalty yards than rushing yards in this game. And I don't have to tell you that when you're putting up numbers like that, you ain't going to win football games or, frankly, any other kind of games that might have penalty yardage. And a lot of these came at really, really inopportune times. I just have a list of some of the ones that really stood out to me. Poor Marcus Allen. This dude, I tweeted it, seems to be at the wrong place all the time. At the wrong place at the wrong time all the time. Like evergreen tweet, Marcus Allen penalty, DPI, whatever it is. In this game, he had a critical roughing the kicker penalty on a field goal. Like, let me remind us all of the situation there. This was on Duke's second drive. It's 7-7 at this point. Carolina had scored. Great first drive. How many times have we said that this year? Followed by a 3-and-out and another 3-and-out. Anyway, Duke scores, Carolina 3-and-out, and then Duke's second drive. Carolina gives up a 3rd and 16 on the ground. That's not a penalty, but that woof, right? Then they get a tackle for loss. Then they get a couple other stops to force a field goal attempt from Duke. Tack on 15 yards because of a Duke personal foul. That's one of the 3 that they did call on the Blue Devils. And that leads to a missed 46-yard field goal. The game is tied, Carolina ball. But Marcus Allen roughing the kicker penalty. To be fair, bit of a flop. At worst, I thought it was a running into, right? Definitely great Oscar. Oh, Oscar goes to the Duke kicker for that. Like, wow. But Marcus Allen, it's a college kicker who's not all that great, and it's a 46-yard attempt. Just let him mess himself up. You don't have to help. And so I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate your aggressiveness. But my dude, you can't even come close to this guy. Flop or no flop. It's Duke. They're going to flop. But flop or no flop, you cannot put yourself in that position. Literally the next play is a touchdown. A wide open touchdown, I might add, for Duke. It's 14-7. And quite frankly, with the Carolina offense that we've seen this season, that could have been the ball game right then and there. Thankfully, it wasn't. But that's the first major penalty in a very, very bad way. The second one, and by the way, Marcus Allen had a DPI later, and a third one that I was surprised they didn't throw. I didn't think it was DPI, but based on poor Marcus Allen, I thought it was going to be a flag. Anyway, the other one, Carolina has a ineligible downfield on the last drive before halftime. Carolina still gets a field goal out of this, but you could have had 7 instead of 3 because the play was a completion to, if I remember correctly, Kobe Paysour, basically to the Duke 5, called back, and then Carolina has to settle for a field goal. So at halftime, instead of 17-14, or potentially, right? Like, we don't know if Carolina punches that in, but let's say they do. It's 17-14 instead of 17-10. How does that affect the outcome of so much of the game? Carolina might not feel like they need to go on sides later in the game, although I thought it was a great call. What do you have to lose? You're not, you know what I mean? Anyway, there's that one. There are, and that, you know, how does that butterfly effect change this game? And then let's fast forward as we're talking penalties. Not counting the kickoff, because thankfully there was no yellow laundry there. Carolina is flagged on 3 straight plays. The Tar Heels have had a wonderful comeback. We'll talk about that, to go and get a 25-24 lead. And it's like, okay, they stop Duke. And then unfortunately they give it right back after a bad series. And now Duke's driving. Duke scores a touchdown to take the lead. And they're already going to go for 2. Manny Diaz has his fingers up. And Kamori House, like, I think they flagged him because he had Darian Mensah's mouth guard. I think that's what the issue was, which feels petty to flag that, but also, like, I think it's kind of funny to have his mouth guard, but I guess it's petty, whatever. That's what the flag is for? If so, I'm a little whatever on that. But that makes the 2-point try even easier for Duke. Literally, on the 2-point try, Carolina has another penalty after the play. And it's not, I thought at first they were going to flag Melkart for kind of riding the play out of bounds, but it wasn't that. Like, they were just trying to hold each other up. The penalty was elsewhere for just jabber-jawing or getting up on a Duke player again. What does that allow? I mean, you figure like, it's not a big deal. It's for the kickoff. Well, it allows Duke to just kind of pooch kick it. And instead of starting on the 25 with a touchback or something, Will Hardy can only get to the 17, and that's where Carolina has to start. So that's 2 straight penalties, and then take out the kickoff and 3 straight kind of scrimmage plays. Holding, Carolina has timeouts, 2 of them, plus the 2-minute warning, and a chance to go do something. And the way the offense had looked on the 2 previous drives, it's like, all right, here's your chance. But there's holding on the first play. So now, I mean, you're close enough. It's not a full 10 yards. It's half the distance. But now you're staring at, instead of, 1st and 10 from the 17, you're looking at like what, 2nd and 18 from the 8 or 9, something like that. You're just killing yourself with stuff like that. And then, I mean, it's clear the game's over, but after Carolina can't complete that 4th down conversion, and it's like 4th and 13 or something, I can't remember at this point, but Kobe paid, and you saw it plain as day. And I love Kobe, but that's a dumb play, man. He like steps on the Duke player as he's walking back in bounds. And you can look at that and you say, oh, Kobe didn't. He knew exactly what he was doing. How do I know? Because I'm an athlete and I've been in that situation and I know what gets in your heart and your head. You're pissed because you just lost the football game. It's like, I'm going to pretend like I'm just going to step over and whoops, I stepped on. You know what I mean? Nah. Carolina, again, had the talent to win this football game, but the discipline was not there. and that's atrocious. That, like, yes, there is a level at which that's on the coaches for not reining that in, but this game to me was less on the coaching than some of the other games this year have been. That's on the players for lack of discipline. The other thing I want to say before we take our first break here is Carolina's inability not even to get off the field on third down. What was Duke on third downs? Let's look here. Duke on third down comparison was 6 of 15. So Carolina did a nice job there. The issue was stopping them on the down after that. Duke went for it on fourth down 6 times, and they made 5 of them. 5 of them, you guys. They start 3 for 3. It's like, all right, fine, whatever, and then they start bottling up the run. So on Duke's fourth one, this is where it's like Carolina's getting all the momentum now. Duke goes for it on fourth down, and it was like 4th and 2, and they've got Mensah who could run it. They've got either of those 2 running backs who could do it, and they try to get cute. Carolina snuffs it out, and it's like, thank you for that gift, because all you had to do was run it up the gut, and Carolina wasn't going to stop it. But then there was the play on Duke's final drive. It's 3rd and whatever. Carolina gets to Darian Mensah, forces nearly a strip sack, and it comes wobbling out. And Greg Smith nearly has a pick. He maybe could have caught it, but it was a very difficult ball to catch. And it stinks because if he catches that might be ball game, or at least very close to it. But you can't pin that on him. That's a tough ball to make. Again, maybe could have had it, but it's not like the percentage chance of getting it was probably less than 50. And plus that brings up 4th and 7, right? And Carolina can't get off the field on 4th and 7. They complete it. And then there's another 4th down where they're going to go for the field goal with 2:20 left or whatever it was to go and take a 2-point lead. And you're like, you wish Carolina already had the ball, but whatever, you can live with that. Go get a field goal. You win the game. Duke gets their fake field goal all the way to the 1. And at that point, Carolina still has a chance, but now that is 5 out of 6 4th down conversions for Duke. And that's just not enough to win a football game. So there's all of that. There's a lot more to get to as we continue to unpack this, but where I want to go next, I've kind of started to now realize part of Carolina's issue this year. Obviously there's a lot of issues and we've unpacked a lot of them, but there's something I've been trying to put my finger on all season, and I haven't been able to until now. But now I got to figure it out, and I want to share it with you, and we'll do that coming back in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, y'all, college football is back. Frankly, unfortunately, it's almost over, and I couldn't be more excited. It's been so fun despite the struggles this year. The tailgates, rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more of a battle than the actual game itself. And there's endless queues, the hidden fees, prices jump up on you at checkout. It's awful, and you don't need that. That's why I wanted to ask you to start doing what I do and use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is actually what you pay. Honestly, it is faster, it's cheaper, and it's so much less stressful than any other way I've tried to buy tickets. And I also love that you can find views from your seat right there in the app. Carolina, been a struggle of a year. NC State, been a struggle of a year. Go get tickets in Raleigh, and let's make that thing blue instead of red, right? Make that happen next Saturday. And take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. As we continue to roll on, I'm going to pull up the box score for those of you watching in real time. A little treat for joining us right here in the moment. But it's okay. If you miss it, you can come back and check it out later. Or if you're listening to this, shouts to all you that are mowing your lawn or putting your Christmas lights up or driving in the car to Thanksgiving. So glad you're here. You can find the box score on my Twitter feed as well. Here's what I want to say next. I've been struggling all season long to process this, but finally something clicked during this game. I don't know what it was, and I began to see it more clearly. One of the things we talked a lot about preseason was the way Bill Belichick coach teams are so disciplined. And perhaps it was the lack of discipline in this game that revealed it to me. But what I began to wonder is, one of the things you've noticed this year about Carolina's offense in a Drake May era, in an air raid era, with Mac Brown, Carolina is trying to get possession after possession and score a ton of points and see if we can outscore because the defense wasn't there. The Bill Belichick way is low possession, grounded out football. Try to find advantages in the margin and take advantage of those margins. Exploit those. Do that. Find what you can to win a football game, like in a nuanced way. I don't care. Like if I'm Bill Belichick talking, I don't care if it's 87-2 or 25-4. What matters at the end of the day, we got to win. And so we're going to go low possession, try to keep the scoring low, try to do these things and see what may happen. The thing that clicked for me today is that's all well and good if you got the horses and the team chemistry to do it. This Carolina team, and maybe next year's different, maybe they can figure it out by then, but this team is not disciplined enough, as we clearly saw tonight. They are not connected enough, which is not their own fault. Like they've tried to do their very best, but again, it goes back to the whole 70 new players of it all and the new staff. There is just no way to get to the level of cohesion that you need in the short time they all had together. So they're not disciplined enough, connected enough. And while there is some talent, this team is not talented enough yet, right? Like there is some talent and there's more talent coming, but the combination of not having the full level of talent you need, nor are you cohesive enough, and most critically, nor are you the Bill Belichick level of disciplined enough to win games like this. Because you saw this game. Carolina started to figure things out in the second half, really, really found their way. They had done enough in the first half to not get blitzed out of the gate like what Notre Dame did to Syracuse today. Oh my goodness. What? That was bonkers. Thank you for removing what, that's like worse than what Clemson did to Carolina. So Carolina was doing enough in the second half of this game to win it, but they weren't connected enough, and they certainly weren't disciplined enough. Had they been, right? Like there was another play. When was the Thad Dixon play where he almost got an interception? Was that a third down later? I can't remember. But anyway, there was another play. Oh, it was in Duke's next to last possession when it would have been a 3-and-out. Carolina had they just gone ahead? Yes, it was right after Carolina went ahead. Davion Goss gets that touchdown. Carolina gets the 2-point conversion to take a lead. Is that there? And it's 3rd and 9. And it's that play where Thad Dixon kind of dives to try to get the interception. But here's the thing. Time and score and situation. It's 3rd and 9. They're in no position to go for it on 4th down there. So instead of trying to go under the ball and get the pick, you've got the angle, get that outside arm in there and just knock the ball down to the ground. Now Duke's punting, Carolina gets the ball back. There you go. Right? And thankfully Carolina ends up stopping that drive eventually. But man, what a difference even just little things like that make. So there you go. Okay, we talked about all the penalties on Carolina. I also mentioned that Duke, as you can see here, if you're looking at it, was penalized just 3 times for 27 yards. How many holding calls were there that should have happened that did not happen against Duke? It was crazy. I guess watching the replay, I slowed it down. I really thought Duke was offside on what it would have been 2nd and 5 on Carolina's last drive of the game in that 2-minute drill. Good grief. Like, because to the naked eye, that clearly is holding. You throw that flag, man. That's bonkers to me. But you go back to the first half, Carolina's first drive of the second half. There was a play where it should have been a roughing the passer hit on Lopez. Like, I think in the 1990s it would not have been, but in this day and age of football, where you just like blow on a quarterback's helmet and it's a flag, that should have been a flag. Literally the very next play, It's the one where they go to Kobe Paysour in the end zone, and he nearly still comes up with it. But on the replay, clearly the defensive back is pulling down Paysour's arms. How is that not 15? That has to be 15 yards. That is DPI, like almost by definition. The fact that you don't throw a flag on either of those plays, and then there's the call literally right after that on Carolina, and it's like the unsportsmanlike on Green after his catch, and he's got to be more disciplined than that. But that comes to light all the more because of what the two non-calls prior to that. It's just like I help coach my son's recreation basketball team. We're not good, you guys. We finished, today was our last day. We play 2 games every Saturday. We literally went winless. It's 3rd and 4th graders. Our team was mostly 3rd graders. We were just not good. And we were getting trucked in our first game this morning. I mean, absolutely trucked. And these refs are calling a tighter whistle than you usually call for 3rd and 4th graders. That's fine. I'm just asking for consistency. So our guys who, like in this league, once you get down by 15, they literally stop keeping score. They'll add to this, like if we score, they'll give us 2 and them 2. Because by the time at one point it was 15-0, and they just stop. We get whistled like a sideline out of bounds play because the kid steps over the line. Like they're not even guarding him as he's inbounding the ball. I get it. That's fine. That's the rules of the game. But then on the other side, they give the other team a chance. Like he steps over the line and they don't whistle it and give it to us. Like if you're going to call it, I'm great with that because that's the rules of basketball. But I just want consistency. And so this situation where there's no roughing the passer flag thrown, and when you consider all the other ticky-tack crap that's called in Carolina, plus the defensive pass interference not called on them, and then you're going to flag Green on the next play, I'm sorry, sir, but that is wildly inconsistent, and we've got to do better. ACC refs over and over and over again. And that does not win or lose you the football game. Carolina did that on their own with all their penalties. But be consistent. I beg of you. We've got to acknowledge Carolina's resolve to fight back in this football game. That's where I want to go next. I know there's some comments over there. We might not have time to get to those. We'll see if we can take 1 or 2. But I do want to champion and say congrats to Carolina for fighting back in this game because it's something they've not been able to do much this season. We'll look at that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, that's great because FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to who's going to have a fourth quarter comeback, which is every NBA game, so you better believe that's going to happen, or anything else live you want to get in on. And what I love about that is you can take any of these live bets and combine them into a live same-game parlay for a chance at an even bigger payout, which is super cool because all of these things that you can do in real time helps keep every game live and interesting because you always got a little bit something extra riding on it besides just like, oh, this is fun. It's cool, right? That's neat. Let's switch to basketball for a second here, where Caleb Wilson has jumped up to 7th in the nation in FanDuel's Wooden Award, the National Player of the Year awards. He's plus 2,200. If you think he's going to keep skyrocketing, man, jump on those numbers right now. Keep your eyes peeled for the line for Carolina at NC State next week, because I can almost guarantee you State's going to be favored, and you think Carolina can either win that game or stay within the line, go check it out. Oh my goodness, I just thought about this. Duke was favored by 6.5 in this game. Ooh, that 2-point conversion late looms large. I apologize to all of you that took Carolina. Yikes. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, guys. Carolina, typical struggles in this game in terms of some offensive ineptitude. As they've often done this season, scored on their first drive, but then back-to-back 3-and-outs. But then second half, they go, or even starting with the next drive of the second quarter, field goal, touchdown to take the lead, 25-24. So some really nice performances from the Carolina offense in the second half. Yes, there was nothing in the second and third drives, but Carolina found ways to sustain drives and did it. I had begged yesterday on the show for explosive plays, and credit to Freddie Kitchens. He took shots, right? That's something that has not happened a ton this season, and that's what we've been begging for. So, I think there is some deserved criticism there season long about the offensive play calling, but Carolina took shots today. And so when things happen that we want to see happen, we've got to say thank you. So thank you for taking some shots in this game. That said, a lot of it was Carolina actually completing third downs. I think they finished 8 of 13. I moved my note on third downs. Actually, we could just look at it here on screen in real time. Third down conversions, Carolina finishes 8 of 13. Let me scroll back up here because they started 4 of 5. At one point, they got to 8 of 11. That's where things were when they took that 25-24 lead. And so it was not like that made all the difference was Gio's ability to make plays on third down. If I remember correctly, the first drive of the game had 2 third down completions, had another one in a couple of those other important drives in the second half. And that's the difference, right? If he doesn't complete those third downs, we're just looking at all the same stuff we have. So Carolina stayed locked in. They did what they needed to do and eventually took a lead in this game. And part of that was, the defense had issues stopping Duke in the first half. Duke's first 3 drives, touchdown, field goal, and then they had 7 seconds left for their fourth drive, so they just kneeled it down and took it to the locker room. Then they scored again coming out of the halftime locker room. Part of that is Carolina gave them a short field on the onside kick, which again was I was okay with that call. But then Carolina really started to slow them down. So I just want to say kudos to Carolina for figuring out a way to get it done on third downs, for figuring out a way to score 25 points. Yay! You know what I mean? Like I mockingly say yay, but that's a big deal for this football team who has struggled to get above 20 this season. So, a glass half full is they did that, and maybe they can take that into next week. Another thing, the offensive line has been kind of maligned. You'll forgive me the wordplay there. And for the vast majority of this game, did not allow any sacks. In fact, 0 sacks until Carolina takes a lead, 25-24. They get the fourth down stop. They're only one of the game to get the ball back. If you can go down now and score, you take time off the clock. And if it's 3, they need a touchdown to beat you because now you're up 4. If you get a touchdown and a point after, now you're up 8. They need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion just to tie you and get to overtime. Unfortunately, Carolina goes 3 and out there, including the first 2 sacks of the football game. Then they give up a third one on that final 2-minute drive. So Carolina's offensive line, great job most of the game. The problem is those kind of critical drives at the very end allowed 3 in the final 2 drives. And that's just not going to cut it. So that's where we're at. And now I mentioned it right off the top, but now you look ahead to next Saturday after Thanksgiving. We're all full. Hopefully Carolina has won 2 more basketball games, one over St. Bonaventure and one over Michigan State. That's a critical game on Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be a tough one without Seth Trimble, but going to be a great test for the Tar Heels. But now you got to go to Raleigh against an NC State team that you've lost to. Is it 3 years in a row now? My mind is so muddled right now after the craziness of this game that I don't have it in my head. And a win doesn't get you bowl eligibility, doesn't get you to an ACC championship game, doesn't get you into the college football playoff. But we know now for certain that next Saturday in Raleigh is Carolina's last football game of the season. NC State is coming off of just beating Florida State at home last night. They're riding a bit high, and Dave Doran had his comments as he always does. I want to wipe the smug smile off that dude's face so much. Carolina has to find the pride to go to Raleigh and take care of business. That is the critical thing that's got to happen with this. So that's what we're looking ahead to. Figure out what caused all the issues today with your flags. Why were you not disciplined enough to do what you need to do? and then you move on. All right. So we're going to get out of here today. I'm sure there's some great questions. But like it's a Saturday night, we're all bummed about the Duke loss. And so I think it'll be better tonight to just move ahead with our evening. All right, guys. I want to thank you all for joining me live in this postcast. Even though it's Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving week. We will be live after the St. Bonaventure game and after the Michigan State game on Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to be in Texas with my family for Thanksgiving, but I'm still coming to you. So don't think for a second you're getting off the hook. And we'll do the same, win or lose, after next Saturday's game to wrap up the final postcast of the season. I want to thank you all for being with me as always here on the show. If you haven't subscribed on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a single second of what's going on with Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't subscribed to the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link's in the show note, as is the link for our Locked On Tar Heels Insider program. Would love to have you join both of those shows. Even on a painful day like today, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again Monday, but until then, peace.